God did not answer my prayer. You heard me right. God did not answer my prayer. Hello, guess who's back? Your girl. It's such a pleasure to be here and to be having this conversation with you all. I've missed you all and I've seen all your comments. I received your messages in the email, in my DM, even on WhatsApp. It's such a joy connecting with sisters all over the world. Today, I want to talk about this topic because it's become very important to have this conversation. I shared the testimony of how I got miraculously pregnant. I shared how God overturned doctors' reports regarding my pregnancy. I also shared how God saved my child. I think I've shared that in the video talking about vaginal birth versus cesarean section. I shared that too. So today I want to share something that I consider a vulnerable part of my story. There was a prayer point I earnestly and desperately made while I was pregnant, and even before I was pregnant. Right from when I was small, I've always believed and felt like I knew that anytime I was going to be pregnant, that the very first time I would try to be pregnant, that I was going to carry multiple births. So anytime that thought comes, the picture lined up in my head is that my first pregnancy is actually a multiple birth, and I have always believed this. Never for once have I doubted it. Never for once have I thought that any other thing was possible. So finally, when I was blessed with my own seed by miraculous intervention, and we went to the hospital, we had first an issue of whether there was a seed or not. But when it now became clear that, okay, there was a child in there, and God has done his miraculous work again on overturning the doctor's report. Please, if you have not watched that video on that, check this out here. Now, after that, it now dawned on me, I said, wait, these people are telling me it's only one in there. It can't be. Because I know this is almost like a covenant between I and God. That the very first time, this is something I've believed since I was barely 13. I've always known this would be my story, that I would have my first children as twins. So why are you telling me that there was only one? So I began to resist it. I began to declare that even if they're telling me there is one, I know I am carrying two. I started hoping on it, insisting on it. Even when I was buying things, I would buy the ones I feel they could share together, the things I was trusting that I would have, and then the ones that they would have individually. Up to the point that I had the names that they would both answer, right? Now, at one point in the journey, I went to a scan. As I go, anytime I go to a scan, I will ask, is it just one you're seeing? And they will tell me, yes, it's just one. It doesn't stop me from asking the next time, because this is something I was praying and trusting and believing God that I will come out with two, not one. And so, I would watch videos of people who initially thought they were having just one child, and then they got surprised maybe in the second trimester, not even some in the last trimester, to find out that they were having two. I also watched the videos of people who never knew, because they didn't really go through a lot of scan. They thought they were having one at birth. They found out they were having two. Or even I've seen the case of 3 or even 4. So I kept believing that whether the enemy likes it or not, this will be my own report. This will be my own outcome, right? So in one of my scans, this is around when we're now entering the third trimester. I think at the beginning of the third trimester, I got this report during a scan. So during that scan, I asked the sonographer and I said, as I always ask every other sonographer why they're checking, and I said, are you just seeing one? He said, hold on, let me look again. It looks like there's more. Whoa. So he looked and said, there are two. I said, what? Like, I got up and I said, what? Like, I raised my hand and I said, what? He said, yes, there are two. My husband was there because he follows me to almost every scan. So he was surprised and like, he came closer to this monitor, like, let him see what was happening. And the sonographer went on to point out that, okay, this is baby A, this is baby B, this is baby A's head, this is baby B's head, this is da-da-da-da. And he said, the only issue is, I think there is just a little amniotic fluid for the two of them. And I also think that they are monochorionic monoamniotic, which means they are sharing the same sac, they are sharing the same placenta, which already means that they are identical twins and they were male in gender. So this was a report this sonographer gave to us, and I couldn't, like, my joy knew no bound. I just laid down on the bed, the tears were rolling out. By the time they printed the results, which I'm going to post here by the way, but I'm going to remove the name of a hospital to avoid anybody trolling them. So I went into the car. I and my husband were filled with tears. My husband was like, this girl, they have surprised me. Why was I saying that? Because I have always been insistent on that faith. I held on to it. So it was like, this man, your faith is another level. Like, I've now seen it. He was so excited. We were both excited. We were both really, really excited. And we were filled with tears of joy. We decided we were going to continue praying about it and, not just say it out and just, especially since there is now a critical situation. If you know well about twins, you know that mono twins is actually a critical situation. They barely make it past beyond 34 weeks. So it's often a case that results in premature delivery. And there's also a need for consistent and medical oversight to make sure that nothing goes wrong as the twins are in aside. Now, as we are reading and making our investigations and inquiries rather about mono twins, it became important that we need to actually get specialist care, because the hospital we went to was not a specialist for pregnancy or for children. So we decided that it's important we go back to a particular hospital that we have been using before to get specialist care. And we went to one hospital, we called a specialist, a neonatologist, and he told us, we need to go to the hospital and make sure it's a standard hospital, but sometimes they will require being put in in incubator or something like that. So we went to this specialist hospital. This was like much later in the week. We saw two doctors at two different times. We saw the first doctor, she checked and said, okay, yeah, this is baby number 1, this is baby number 2. She told us that we needed to come and see the head obstetrician, and we visited the head obstetrician, and he touched it and said, this is the head of baby A, this is the head of baby B. So he decided that it's important to be sure that one twin is not starving the other. So it was important to ensure that both of them are getting proper nutrition. And so for that, they sent us to another kind of scan called Doppler scan. In Doppler scan, we'll be able to see the blood vessels and be able to ascertain whether a particular twin is keeping the other one away from feeding, which can lead to starvation and the loss of one twin. So we went for the Doppler scan. I mean, that was weird. All bubbles were crashed. This Doppler scan was done by a well-trained, internationally trained radiologists. If you know about medical professions a lot, you know that a radiologist is a doctor that specialized in radiology. So everything about scan, interpreting, x-rays and all of that is his thing. So this is a consultant, this is a specialist with years of experience, right? And he has one of the best tools that could do that Doppler scan, right? Because not all women can do that. So when I laid down and he started to say, okay, I can see baby 1. It is good. Now I see the head of the baby 2. Okay, let's trace down to the body. He went back again. He said, how many babies did you say were in here? I said 2. My husband was there. He said 2. He said, okay, let me call someone. We were thinking at that time that, or personally I was thinking that, this is going to tell me I have more than 2. I was bracing myself for, what? Do I want more than 2? My mind didn't go to what they were thinking at all, because I moved past that. I couldn't have imagined it or expected that. So when the second radiologist came in, she checked. I don't know now if this second person is a radiologist or a radiographer, but she came in and she checked and she said, the doctor said, how many babies are you seeing in there? She said, this is baby 1 and this is head of baby 2. It looks like it's 2 babies, but when I look at it, I try to move down. I'll see like it's still the same head that I'm seeing on the other side. Well, long story short, they checked and they were able to finalize that it was just 1 baby. The trauma was something else. Like, it felt like I got paralyzed on that bed. I couldn't even get up. Because what are you telling me? What are you telling me? God, this can't be true. But it was. In fact, the doctor said, if you go anywhere else and they tell you this is 2 babies and they can prove it and show, come and I will pay for whatever, like, he will bear the consequences of giving me a wrong, or he can tell me and he can hope for 10 other specialists to look at it and he can tell me this is 1 baby. So we walked out of the hospital deflated. My husband, being the man that he is, he took it into his strides and moved on. That's his kind of person. But I didn't. I started having depressive meltdowns because how can? And now we are thinking of how to get babies out in time, and you're telling me that is wrong. What do you mean? I couldn't do it, so I kept praying. I recorded a lot of videos, kept recording videos saying, God, you're going to overturn this, and I will use these videos to point back to when I was waiting and trusting that you will overturn the story. Up until when I was packing my box for the hospital for delivery, which was an elective CS, I packed for 2 days, believing that the final miraculous show will happen after the delivery. Well, we went in and a miracle did happen. And the miracle that happened was that God brought out my child for me, safe and sound. And I came out of that place without any issue. And the fact that I could have lost my child, but God intervened, which I explained in this video here, so please go and watch it. And God intervened and I didn't lose my seed. So that miracle didn't happen. But the prayer that I was earnestly counting on to be answered also didn't happen. God did not answer. But what was strange is that I knew God could have done this. Or why didn't he? And this is where this video concerns you, because I know that many people who are trusting God for their seeds or for one thing or the other, especially those who have held on to trusting God for a miracle. I know that you've come to the point where you're wondering, why is God not doing this? Because He could. And I want you to know this, that if you watch one of those videos, I explained something that it's good to have desire. But one thing you must not do is get into desperation. Desperation is what makes you to commit sin. Desperation is what makes you to compromise. Desperation is what makes you to begin to suggest that God is not God enough, that He is incapable of doing something, and therefore you begin to look for alternatives rather than waiting patiently on Him. When it seems faith is not working, when you have done everything that is expected of you and trusted God and done your part, and it seems that your faith didn't work, don't believe that lie. Instead, God is calling you to a higher level of faith. The higher level of faith is trust. Trust is knowing that God has the capacity to do this, but He also knows the best for me. So His capacity is not going to work against my favor. If He knows that even though I desire this, that this won't be good for me, that I can't deal with this, God will not let me have it. And so I trust His capacity, but I also trust that He has the best interest at heart for me. No matter how it looks, it may not look good, it may look bad, it may look like terrible things are happening, it may look like things are not going the way you want it may look like your prayers are not being answered. I want to tell you that sometimes unanswered prayers are for your own good and for your protection. Just pause for a moment and imagine if God answered every single prayer you have said in your life. There are prayers that I've said in the past. I say, God, thank you for not answering this prayer. Thank you for not giving me this that I have asked. There are times that you have to understand, and it is important you do, that God's plan for you will always be of good, and that He will bring you to the expected end. It's not easy, I've been there, but when you trust God, you can navigate that situation without losing your faith. One of the things I encourage you not to do in this moment is to question God's capacity. Please don't do it. In Psalm 78, verse 21 to 23, say, Jehovah heard them and was angry. The fire of His wrath burned against Israel because they didn't believe in God or trust in Him to care for them. Some other translations said because they didn't believe that He has the capacity to save them. So I charge you, brethren, no matter what it is, don't ever think that it is a capacity issue. So when you know you've done everything that you should do, you've done your part, you've had faith, you've held on to the faith, you've played by the book, you've done everything right, and still it didn't work as you expected it to work, I want you to understand that it's not a capacity issue. It's not because God can't do it. It's because He doesn't want to do it. And if you understand Him and understand His heart for you, you will know that when He doesn't want to do it, He's in protection of you. When He doesn't want to do it, it's because He loves you. In Jeremiah 29:11, He said to us, I alone know the plans I have for you, plans of good and not of evil, plans to bring you to the expected end. So if this is not in line with His plan and you desire it and He's not doing it, you should thank Him, because imagine if He allows it to happen, even when it will be to your own detriment. Then you'll be saying, but God, why did you let this happen? Why did you give this to me when you know it will cause me this problem? But He knew already. For everyone whose life is submitted to God, the highest form of submission is submitting to God's will, even when it's not in line with your desires. In Psalm 78, the same Psalm 78 verse 25, it says, they ate the angels' food. He gave them all they could hold.
all they could hold. There is that thing about God knowing what you can hold and what you can't hold. Now, back to my story. When I started dealing with the phases in motherhood, oh my God, I really thank God, because He knew that for a first-time mom, I wouldn't have been able to handle 2 boys at a time. Without having any experience, without knowing what it was like. It's something if you already know what handling a baby is like, and now you can prepare. For my temperament and for my kind of person, I am too fragile to have that kind of thing happen to me without preparation. So imagine having to deal with these 2 boys without preparation, without knowing what the experience is like, and just finding myself dealing with that. It would have been too tough. I'm telling you, this phase of motherhood dealt with me. But thank God for His grace and His mercy that kept us moving. I can now testify that God was so mindful of me that no matter how I wanted it, that He made sure, because He knows my life is submitted to Him. I'm surrendered to Him. I've given Him this life to run. And so He made sure that His perfect will over my life happened. Could He decide to, now that you have the experience, I'm going to give you this. Glory be to His name. I still desire it. But that desire, even that desire, is still submitted to His will. Never be at a point where your desires are higher than your submission to God. So I want to encourage everyone here, if it feels like you've been trying and counting on God, don't lose faith. If there's something you pick from my video, you pick from the fact that till the very day I put to bed, I was still believing. I never let nothing could shake my faith until the day came. Nothing could shake my faith. Until the baby was brought up and I was sewed up again, that's when I knew, okay, I didn't get it this time. Do I still have faith for the future? Yes, I do. And if I take it again, I will continue to hold on to that faith until the very last again. So this video is not to tell you to not hold on to your faith. That is not the purpose. The video is that to hold on to faith, but to also know that when faith doesn't work, it's not a time to cry, it's not a time to condemn God, it's not a time to lose faith. It's a time to come up to the higher level of faith, which is trust. It is a time to trust God that He knows the best and He will always do what is best for you. Let me pray with you. Father, I thank You for everyone who has watched this video. I thank You for everyone who You've spoken to through this video. People who are going through different situations, whatever it may be, that it seems like, oh, God did not answer my prayer, and for them it seems to be like the end of the world. I pray that as many of them that have listened to You here would have the courage to continue moving forward. And even in that courage to move forward, they will still submit all their desires to You. That You, who is the finisher, the author and finisher of our faith, will perfect all their concerns, bring them into deep understanding of Your will for them, and guide them in the path that You have chosen for them, to bring them to that expected end, to the greater glory of Your name. Father, I pray that at the end of the day, as many as they are, they will still understand and glorify Your name. They will have the full cause to praise Your name and to acknowledge that You have their best interest at hand. And Lord, may all of this at the end of the day be to the greater glory of Your name. For in Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen and amen. Until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye for now. And don't forget, if you have not subscribed, you are in a massive error. Please subscribe to our channels. Bye for now.